just realized I don't have the civility statement.
You just,
I don't have it quite memorized.
Is it a race? See if we can get
those
it.
2 minutes make me feel better.
Let me see if I can find it.
That's like the great host that spills something after someone.
Here it is.
That's just makes
Wait a minute, no. All right, well, thank you. We can't start without this, so. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we pause to orient ourselves to the kind of civic life we are here to practice. Civility, as we understand it, is not politeness, it's not etiquette or agreement, it's an inner disposition rooted in recognizing the equal human dignity of every person present, including those with whom we sharply disagree. Each of us is responsible for how we speak, how we listen, and how we conduct ourselves. We are not responsible for controlling one another's views, reactions, or conclusions. This space belongs to all of us. We will speak honestly, refrain from demeaning or coercing one another, and remain present even when the conversation is difficult. By holding one another in view as persons rather than obstacles, we sustain the trust that makes shared civic life possible in Urbandale tonight and beyond. And thank you, Blake, and I'll turn that back over to Blake. So thank you for that. All right, is motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 3 is public forum. This is the time to address the council on something that's not a part of a public hearing on tonight's agenda. Would anyone like to address the council at this time? You have comments, Alex, about the bike ordinance? Okay, normally I wouldn't take them for the second reading, but we'll allow some brief comments. Let's do it at that time if you have some brief comments, so. Is there anyone else like to address the council? All right, seeing none, then we'll move on to adoption of the minutes. First from the August 3 meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery.
I'd like to make a comment.
Sir, please come up to the podium if you could, please. You give your name and address for the record, please.
All right. Good evening. My name is Jonathan Auberg, and I live at 1270 Tuttle Street, Des Moines, Iowa. I'm here about one line in tonight's consent agenda. Item 5.1 asks you to approve the bill lists for August 6th and August 13th. In the August 13th list, under the police department, there's a payment to Flock Group Incorporated. $50,000 described as 20 Flock license plate reader camera systems, annual 26, 27. The bill list records it as paid by check number 182536 with a payment date of August 13th, 5 days before tonight's vote. I'm not suggesting anything improper, but item 5.1 asks you to approve a bill list that already records this $50,000 line as paid. So my first question is, what record authorized it? The agreement this council approved in 2023 or a separate renewal document? And what does the city's purchasing policy say about which renewals come back to you? My second question is about the contract. In April, this council voted 5-0 on Resolution 111-2026 to authorize an amendment to the Flock agreement. I've read the copy in the April 7th packet. It's a real improvement. It says Flock's license does not authorize Flock to disclose the city's data to third parties, including law enforcement agencies, without the city's prior written consent, except as the agreement expressly permits. And for footage, it's a different standard. Subject to stated legal and emergency exceptions, Flock must give the city at least 10 business days written notice before disclosure and an opportunity to contest it. But the provisions I'm describing put obligations on Flock. They don't tell the public what governs Urbandale's own outbound sharing, what this department sends out, and who decides. I've not been able to locate that record, and as of August 1st capture, Flock's public transparency portal for Urbandale listed 93 organizations under the heading Sharing Network Data With. So here is what I am asking. Your own agenda says that if discussion is desired, an item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. If you want those questions answered before you approve these bill lists, please pull item 5.1 tonight. And please make 3 records public. The fully executed agreement, Resolution 111-2026, says a copy is on file with the city clerk. The renewal or order document behind this year's $50,000, and whatever written policy governs Urbandale's own outbound sharing. My website is dsmsentinel.org. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Is there a city clerk I can hand this off to?
Right there.
Thank you so much.
Okay. If you leave your contact information, we can get back to you with your questions, so.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. If not, is there anyone else like to address the council? All right, seeing none, then we'll move on. Item 5 is the, we had the motion for the August 3 minutes, and Bridget, I think you made the motion. I don't think we quite had a second yet, did we?
Second.
Second by Kroll. Any further discussion? If not, please vote. That passes. And then item 4.2 is from the August 11 Lunch and Learn.
Move approval of item 4.2.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery,
Second.
second by Kroll. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 5 is the consent agenda. We have 11 items for approval.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote.
Just a quick, in terms of all the details that we discussed previously for the flock conversation, that's on the website for the police page, right? Like transparency portal and things like that?
Well, yeah, that information is on the website. When you say all the information that was discussed before, I just want to make sure I'm
Yeah,
accurately answering your
fair.
question,
That's
Blake.
fair. And like
Yeah.
transparency portal, and
Yes.
then did we have a link to the video, like the presentation
We did.
potentially as well?
We did have a link to
Okay.
the presentation.
Okay,
Yep.
sounds good.
And we're happy to reach back out to that
Yeah.
individual too. Those were 3 questions
Mhm.
presented quite rapidly, so I want to
Yeah.
make sure we get them answered.
Yeah,
for 'em.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
and just for a point of clarification, the bill lists reflect payments made, pursuant to contracts and obligations, correct?
Correct.
And those are for
So
services
there-
already rendered.
There would be both, in that case, a contractual obligation and also the budget authority before that payment would be exercised.
Right, so whoever we paid on the bill list are folks that we owe money to.
Yes, in this case, yes.
All right, and non-payment really is not an option unless we want to be
Well,
sued.
Correct. I mean, certainly from the standpoint of a contractual obligation, we would have both a contractual amount that we're paying as well as a budget authority. The chief wouldn't just be making a payment without both of those things.
Understood, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, I believe, on this. Any further discussion? If not, please vote. The consent agenda passes. Moving on to planning and zoning items. First is item 6.1, and that is consider the Greater Des Moines Supportive Housing Building Additions Site Plan at 3940 114th Street. And to make this presentation is our Community Development Director, Rose Schroeder. Rose?
Good evening. So, there we go. Just as a reminder, we are located at 114th Douglas Avenue to the south, of course, the interstate to the west. This is essentially the third step in the process for the Greater Des Moines Supportive Housing Project. You'll probably recall in May, the council took action to approve a comprehensive plan amendment to designate this property as mixed residential. And then in July, you took action to amend the existing extended stay hotel PUD relative to this user and this general concept plan. So now we are here with a request from the applicant for approval of the actual site plan, which, as you're aware, is a process any non-single-family, two-family residential project comes before you. So again, just want to show existing building layout as well as current parking conditions. And then we will move over to the site plan. So to orient you, again, existing building, which is the existing hotel, which will be converted to 104 apartment units, kitchenettes, bathrooms, fully separate living units. The square the rectangle that is a bit at an angle, just as a reminder, is the building addition that they are proposing. Essentially, the floor plate is 5,000 square feet. It is 2-story, so 10,000 square foot addition, and it does connect, which we'll look at here in a minute, to the existing former hotel structure. So existing parking is showed in the grayed out sort of lighter line work. So that is staying, and there will be some modifications made to add both ADA parking. This location just near the building is the bike parking that we had conversations about during the PUD master plan. A couple other things I will point out. The PUD master plan that was approved does require a 20-foot landscaping setback along the interstate, except for where existing parking is in place. So that was approximately 10 feet more or less in most of that. And so that dimension will stay the same for that requirement that was prescribed in the PUD. There were also landscaping requirements along 114th Street. And you probably recall that there will be a fence along the north property line adjoining the neighbors. So all of that is shown on this site plan. Now I will direct your attention to kind of what I would call this interior space. This is sort of their courtyard space, so it includes things like an open air shelter or gazebo type structure. There is a small garden shed on here that they would keep gardening and outdoor related equipment in. This hatching right here where I have my cursor is artificial turf. And you'll see also walking paths in here. So this really is intended, as you approve the master plan, to be their outdoor space. So the master plan said there doesn't need to be any further parkland dedication, that generally speaking, the courtyard space they were showing is sufficient to meet that. And so that is what they're showing. This is very similar with very little exception to what they have shown even on their concept plan leading up to this point. A few things have moved around a bit, but not significantly. And so the sum total of the building walls and a couple fence locations, that space would be totally confined to this use. It would not be open or visible really from the exterior of that property. Just to recap, also, the use, of course, was already addressed in the PUD master plan, but the 2-story addition really are for those supportive services. Again, for the residents and the residents only, there would be no other point of service for non-residents at this location. So this building will house things like staff offices, meeting rooms, community rooms, commercial kitchen area, again, only reserved for the use of the residents. They do also show their additional parking areas. So the parking in the PUD master plan required a half a space per unit and then some additional parking for staff. And what they have shown on this site plan does meet that requirement. They meet that minimum. In fact, they have a few in addition, but we did also ask them at that PUD time to show us, you don't have to design it yet, but tell us where you could put it. If we find their parking demand is significantly different than what you have estimated and what you have demonstrated, show us where you can put it. And so they have shown that here into the south part of the site. Water and sewer service, obviously already on the site, but that will be coming from mains on 114th Street. And what I can also say is that their design team continues to work with city staff, conversations about some easements and some fire department access and things like that. So we're at the point where we're really kind of just working through comments, and the site plan layout itself is very consistent with what has been shown previously. I'll move just real quickly to the elevations. Also, still consistent with the architectural materials that were allowed in the PUD master plan. And just as a refresher, that is at least 20% of some sort of masonry or brick type product. We did explicitly allow standing seam metal as long as the fasteners were not visible. Some hardy board siding and cedar as architectural accent. So to orient you a little bit, you can see the labels on here, but so the south elevation is, well, looking north from the south, but you can see the existing hotel here grayed out in the background just to kind of orient you. Then you can see the inverse of that on this elevation. And the thing that might be helpful also is that in the lower right, you'll see that two-story connection being made between the new proposed addition and the existing hotel. And here on the west elevation, you see kind of the cut through of that. So right here, you'll see two doors kind of stacked on the first and second floor. That is that connection between the existing hotel structure and the new addition. So again, all these materials were approved in the PUD master plan and do not represent any kind of significant change from what was shown and submitted at that time. With that, happy to answer any questions that you might have about the site plan.
In the case that there would need to be more parking, like ballpark rounded to the nearest 10, how much parking-ish do you feel like that supports?
Oh, good question. I do not have that file in front of me, but we actually did cause them to do that like when they roughed it out, they provided an estimate to us. And I can get that number and send it to you back to the council. But the other thing that's important to say is that we left that at the discretion of staff. Like it says, if parking becomes a problem there, the community development director can cause additional parking to be required. And so that's why we just needed them to show us. We assume this is where it would go, but can you reasonably build it there? So I don't recall that number off the top of my head, but it was a significant number. It's far more parking than obviously the existing hotel has had, so.
Gotcha, thank you.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve council letter 8682.
Motion by Rosendahl,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Any further discussion? If not, please vote. That item passes. Moving on to item 6.2, is considered the Barrett Estates Plat 5 final plat at 147th Street and Waterford Road. Rose?
Okay, this is for Barrett Estates Plat 5, the final plat of that project. We are on the south side of Waterford Road and west of 147th. This is part of the Roble PUD that was approved by the city in 2016. In 2021, there was an amendment to that PUD that this parcel that was in the undeveloped PUD at the time could be modified from townhomes to single-family homes. So that was an amendment to allow single-family lots that was completed in 2021. And in 2025, the preliminary plat for this project as shown was approved by the council. So what I've got up there, the red lines are the preliminary plat layout lines. After action is taken, we do map those. And so that is an approximation of the preliminary plat. So you will see, and it was in your packets, that the resulting final plat looks essentially identical. So here is 147th Waterford Road on the north side. North Park Drive is the continuation of the street that really enters into the subdivision, and then the short additional cul-de-sac called 148th Court. So within this project, there are 31 single-family lots, 2 outlots. Outlots Y and Z, both are for stormwater detention purposes. These lots have a minimum lot width of 50 feet. Setbacks are 30 in the front, 20 in the back, 5 on each side. So this is not townhomes anymore, but a narrower single-family detached lot to accommodate that type of product. Minimum lot depth of 120 feet. Obviously, you can see on the bulb of the cul-de-sacs, the overall lot size varies significantly from some of them, but they do all meet the minimum. In this project, the single-family homes are required to have a 2-car garage and can have a maximum of 2-story. One of the things the PUD did is that 1 in every 5 of these units has to have a 0 entry, so like a ADA accessible, if you will, 0 entry at grade entrance. So that will carry through. Again, that was set up with the PUD master plan. There is an existing 5-foot sidewalk along Waterford. They will be required, and it is shown on the exhibit. They will have to have the 50-foot deep landscape buffer, as we do on all of our arterials with development now. They will also be installing a 5-foot sidewalk along each side of both of the interior streets. Parkland dedication was handled for the Barrett Estates project. In total, it was a combination of parkland dedication, trail contribution, and some cash payments. And so that was done initially with the initial larger project. So that was already addressed. Sewer and water are obviously both available to the site, and in fact, sanitary is was stubbed previously into the project. I am happy to answer any other questions you might have, but otherwise, again, this one at final plat stage has a few cleanup plat exhibit comments, but really everything else has been resolved at the staff level.
The 2 outlots is there like a larger HOA that is going to be responsible for that, or is that the developer at this point that's going to be responsible for that?
Well, it would be the developer at this point, just because none of the lots have sold off, but it is, these I think are actually part of just this plat piece.
Okay.
I can also check that as well.
They look really big, and I hope they look really nice when they're maintained.
Well, yeah, and I mean, in any stormwater facility that we have come in basin or otherwise has to have a management agreement and does have to assign responsibility within it before the plats can go to record. So that happens each time. In fact, it will even happen on the site plan that we just saw. There is a small basin that was existing at the hotel, and so as they work through their construction, they will also have to do the same.
Good to know.
For those houses that are 0 entry, is that just particular to the entry of the house, or is that kind of like mandating that they're more or less like a ranch?
I don't believe the PUD specifies the type of house that it has to be, just that it has that 0 entry. Yep. My assumption would be that those houses probably will be 1 story, because you wouldn't really want to have a 2nd story if you were trying to build and sell a ADA accessible unit, in my opinion.
All right, any further discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll move approval of Council Letter 8684.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery,
Second.
second by Kroll. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Moving on to item 7.1 is to consider the purchase of self-contained breathing apparatus, and we'll have a presentation from Fire Chief Cardwell. Chief?
Thank you. Mayor, members of council, what we have for you tonight is the replacement of our self-contained breathing apparatus. Those are the air tanks and masks that we wear into fires. By design, those packs can only last for 15 years. There is no way to test them beyond that. That doesn't involve destroying them. So all of the tanks that you see firefighters wear only have a shelf life of 15 years. So ours are reaching the end. So we are required to replace them. We've had this out there for a couple of years. We have been able to reduce the total number of packs that we're needing to purchase, and we are under the budgeted amount, which was $500,000. So this is to purchase all the air packs and accessories and equipment that we need that goes with those. We did do the purchasing through, we did take pricing from a couple of different purchasing agreements and actually found the opportunity to get them under what the actual group purchasing would be, which is the final amount that you have there in front of you. The other thing to note is that we did go through an extensive testing process to make sure that what we are selecting met all of our needs. And also, it is a product that matches what our partners are wearing now in terms of the final product. MSA is what Clive and Waukee are both wearing. So again, it adds to the ability for operational alignment, which we've been talking about. So I'd be happy to answer any questions for you.
All right, perfect.
Chief, just in thinking about the things that we've purchased for the police department and the fire department over the years, it seems like we generally like purchase a group of them at a time and not like wholesale replace like everything at once.
Yes.
And I was just wondering why with this product we
So when
buy
you-
instead of staggering them and, you know, having, I don't know, maybe it's less like, to keep up with, but it seems like different than how we normally.
So one of the problems that we face, especially with something like this, is the fact that the product and manufacturers have to build these packs to a national standard, the NFPA standard. And the packs that we're replacing were put on a 2007 standard. We're now on the 2026 standard. It gets updated about every 5 years. And as the technology evolves and as things evolve, they can't go back and allow you to buy previous models. You have to go buy their new model. So if we were to replace them over time, say, you know, every 5 years or so, we would end up with packs that have different capabilities. Even in this case, different connections that have been changed since then. So for safety equipment like this, it makes much more sense to buy it wholesale. Now, our turnout gear, for example, though, which is another example, we do buy that because the standard of that is not going to change significantly. We do purchase those on a regular and annual basis. So we do it when it makes sense to buy it all at once because either for price reasons or for technology reasons. Radios is another example. We purchased all of our radios at the same time due to changing technology. Where the technology is pretty static, turnout gear, hose, things like that, we just buy it as we need it.
No,
That way
that
we
makes
don't have a
sense.
bunch out
I
there.
just was curious. It seemed different than how we purchased other things in the past, so, thank you.
Mhm.
Well, I'll move approval of Council Letter 8668.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery,
Second.
second by Bodie. Discussion, please vote. That passes. All right, thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Item 7.2 is considered ordinance 2026-34, and John would answer any questions if there are. There is a motion to suspend the rules. Blake?
Motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings of an ordinance for ordinance 2026-34.
Motion by Rosendahl,
Second.
second by Kroll. Discussion, please vote.
I got the note.
That passes.
Motion to waive the second reading and approve the third and final reading of ordinance 2026-34.
Motion by Rosendahl,
Second.
second by Kroll. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 7.3 is consider ordinance 2026-30. And to make a presentation on this is the second reading of this. I'll turn it over to our police chief, Rob Johansson. Chief?
Mayor and members of council, back for the second reading of this ordinance. Had good discussion on it last time, so made quite a few changes to from the first reading to the second. I just wanted to hit on the highlights tonight in my presentation. So the big things that we're changing in it. So I updated the definition of a personal transportation device to include that devices that are not capable of going over 20 miles per hour from the manufacturer that we discussed last time. That part I had left out of that and had just stuck with the 750 watt description. But I added that piece after our discussion. So you can see that there. They're not considered personal transportation devices in our definition if they're capable of going over 20 miles an hour. Then the second part here prohibits specific devices from our trails and sidewalks. So if that device is over 750 watts, if it's manufactured or altered to be capable of going speeds greater than 20 miles an hour when powered solely by the motor, any device with a internal combustion engine, and any device that's operating at speeds in excess of 20 miles an hour are prohibited from our sidewalks and trails and the bicycle lane. That is the one piece that was brought to my attention that we need to change, is the bicycle lane piece, as we will go with the speed limit on the roadway for that. So I'm not sure why I put that in there. I think it was just an error on my part. So I will be removing for the third reading that bicycle lane piece. The bicycle lane, you're capable of going whatever the speed limit is. So on Aurora, for example, you'd be able to go 25 miles an hour. That. And then the restriction on the type of devices that are allowed on the roadway. So this goes back to our definitions and the language that we're using. So if it's greater than 750 watts and it's capable of speeds greater than 20 mile an hour solely on the motor, and if it has an internal combustion engine, if it's operated on the roadway, it's going to have to meet Iowa code for either a motor vehicle, a motorcycle, or a motorized bicycle, to include licensing, registration, and insurance. So if you're going to operate out on the road with those bigger devices, then it's going to have to meet Iowa code to be operated on the roadway. And then we talked about the mandating 3 feet of lateral passing distance in the bicycle when someone's in a bicycle lane. And so I made that change as well, whereas before it was when able, I took that part out. So now it's just mandates that you have to allow 3 feet to do the passing legally. Those are the main things that I wanted to hit tonight. So there were some other changes in the ordinance as well, but I didn't highlight all of the different changes that were made. Just cleaned up some language and stuff. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I have a couple of places that I want to make sure I'm clear on the language and what is and is not allowed. I believe I saw in the redlined ordinance that drivers can park in the bike lane. Is that accurate?
The reason we have all of the bike lane language that's in there is all what current ordinance is. I didn't change any of it other than adding personal transportation device instead of bicycle to the definitions as it went throughout that. So I left it as it is stated, not saying that that's accurate, but the reason I think that we have that in there is because of the situation in front of the middle school, where the parents come for drop off, they're stopping, standing, and parking in that bike lane, and we're allowing them to do it. That goes to the turning from that lane as well. There's some other discussions about turning, using the bike lane and then turning in. All of those parents are parking in the bike lane and either dropping off students or waiting in the queue to go into there. So I think that provision was originally put in the bike lane or our current bike lane ordinance to allow for that to happen, because technically most bike lanes don't allow cars to go into the bike lane at all for that type of activity. But that was a compromise that was made because of it's in the middle school and how far that would back up the queue onto the actual travel portion which is what happened when we first implemented this. People weren't sure they could go into the bike lane. They stopped, stood, and waited in the queue in the travel portion, that last remaining lane, and it backed traffic up to Kingdom Come.
I just want to make sure it wasn't conflicting with
I-
the language that we talked about when we
Right.
approved the bike lane.
My interpretation is that's why that little provision is in there, to allow that to happen in that bike lane in front of the middle school. And it only happens during that, that hour before and the hour after. We're not allowing parking or standing in there any other times when the roadway's open.
It doesn't impact 70th at all.
What's that?
It does not impact parking on 70th
No.
at all. Okay.
No.
The other piece, we do not address, or we require hand signals to be done by the typical DOT hand signals for bike and turning. I would recommend we look at the model ordinance and be able to have people point. As a cyclist, I've seen way too many times that drivers don't know or recognize what the actual hand signals are for turning, and it actually puts you in a precarious position.
So I adopted the language of the model ordinance and put in there
Maybe I
what
read
they
it all wrong.
what they had suggested to put in there, because I had something different or doing something with the elbow that they didn't like. So
Yes,
me
thank
not
you.
being proficient in those, I just took their language and put it right in there from the model ordinance. And agreed to whatever that change was, I put it in there. And I don't know if that aligns with what you're talking about.
I think in the document, ours says that no change was needed.
I think there was, because I think there was a concern that it was more of a side angle, and now our adoption is more of like a 90-degree bend.
Yeah, I'm saying it should be more of a point, not this.
Oh, okay.
Because what happens is drivers typically don't know what this means.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I don't know, is that right? Is that left? What's going on?
Gotcha.
Yeah, those were automobile signals when you could stick your left hand out the driver's side window.
Oh.
And so now, we can point, and I agree with Amy on this point that motorists understand when I do this. They don't understand when I do this.
Gotcha.
I of course, can't find it real readily available here, but I certainly could. I'll put whatever language you want in there. It makes no difference to me what hand signals are used. To be honest with you, I'm not that up on what hand signals bicyclists use that often. So if there's a change in that language, I can certainly implement that for the next reading.
Great, that'd be great.
Amy, could you send me what
I will.
you're thinking? Okay.
Yep. I'll let does any other one else have questions?
Yeah,
Otherwise, I'll keep going.
Oh,
Go
go
for
ahead.
it. No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I'm looking at the model ordinance regarding opening doors. Looks like Waukee, Clive, and Ankeny have adopted the model ordinance language on that. And it looks like your recommendation is sort of
Council-
ambiguous. No change required, but, city council preference. My thought is that I'd like to have as much uniformity with Waukee and Clive as possible. And for that reason, I would want to go ahead and adopt a model ordinance language, just so we have uniformity where we're able to have it. And I think that language does make some sense. I don't know if anyone else.
And that's specifically when it comes to like a parked vehicle, more just general, like if your vehicle is parked, just don't leave the doors hanging open excessively, right?
Yeah, as I understand this, I'm taking this from, I don't know, Chief, if you prepared this lengthy memo, I think it's about 23 pages that makes comparisons, but
Unfortunately, yes, that was me.
that must have taken a lot of time because it took me a
Yes.
long
It
time.
did take
just
a little
to get
bit
through.
of time, but I was asked for analysis of the ordinance compared to what we were doing, and I threw in what the other 4 cities were doing, so.
Yeah, so I'm just taking from that, that the model ordinance, talks about not opening the door of a motor vehicle, located on a street without making sure that you're not going to, strike a pedestrian or a cyclist, someone on a personal transportation device, which I think is reasonable, but also, more importantly to me, I like the idea of uniformity on that across jurisdictions if we can do it. So that's just my thought.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, that we could put it in there if you guys wanted it in there. That's why I kind of left it up to you guys' discretion. It's not something we've had in our ordinance prior to this. For just when it was in our bicycle ordinance, it never was addressed, opening doors.
I think it's
I'm
fair
okay
to
with that.
include it.
Good to put in.
I can add that for the third reading as well.
The only other one that I had a question about, and I don't believe it needs added, but I just want to bring it up, is the knowingly modifying the speed capability or engagement of a low-speed electric bicycle or pedestrian conveyance. If a person has modified the speed capability or engagement of a low-speed electrical bicycle, a person shall affix a new label containing the information listed, yada, yada. No one else around us has this particular language in there. However, I do think it's important because I do think we are going to see this come up. I just don't know how we would enforce it, and that's why at this time, I'm not sure if it makes sense to move it forward, but I want it just to be on our radar.
Right. I would suggest that we take a wait and see on that, and if we start running into a bunch of them that have been modified and we're having trouble enforcing that or determining that we go back to this and add it to the ordinance at a later time.
I'm comfortable with that. I just wanted to raise it so it doesn't get lost.
Chief, I'm looking at a memo from the city manager indicating that motorized bicycles, mopeds, need a license, registration, and insurance to be used on the road. But as I understand what we have here, those could be used if they meet certain limitations, less than 750 watts, max 20 mile per hour speed, no internal combustion engine. I understand that probably effectively excludes mopeds, but I'm just wondering why we wouldn't just exclude mopeds altogether, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I stuck with the definition. I don't remember. I think I may have added that in there, that they're not motorized bicycles and motorcycles are not allowed on our trail
Okay.
and sidewalks
Okay, good. I'm good with that. Great.
specifically.
Excellent, thanks.
That was one that I had flagged as well.
Okay. That's all I've got.
One question I had on definition of bicycle, it specifically says a device having up to 4 wheels, et cetera, powered by human power, period, a low-speed electric bicycle. I didn't know if that was like a this or this, because it just kind of seemed like one block.
I didn't put it in there originally, but that is the state definition of a bicycle. And that was what the model ordinance was wanting as well. And then when compared to the other cities, they also included it in their definition, worded just like that. And it's all
Okay.
coming from the state code.
Gotcha.
I don't know why
Yeah.
they stuck that on there. I guess there's reasons why they would still want to be considered a bicycle in some instances, rather than that separate definition of low-speed bicycle on everything. I think it probably, as you read down through the code, they want to make sure that that was included when they're talking about a bicycle in the code, and that would also include that. So I'm guessing that's why.
Gotcha. Because I think I'm okay with all the wording. I didn't know from a formatting perspective if we needed to specifically say there's one thing.
It
and then
looks
there's the
weird,
second.
but I just
Yeah.
copied the language. as they
Yeah,
have
if that's
it.
the if that's the
Supposed to be
way
a
it is in
comma.
code, then
It seems very short and succinct, but yeah, it was kind of weird.
mhm.
One of the things I meant to bring up at the last meeting that I see often in my neighborhood on young people, young children, young adults riding more than one person on a scooter,
That's in there.
and they're not devices that are built for, not tandem mics or anything.
Right. That's addressed on ours.
It
for-
is covered?
Yep, double
Okay.
riding. It's under a section called double riding,
Okay,
and it says that they
Okay.
should only be as manufactured.
so
they should,
how, and these might be on devices that we allow,
right?
that these kids are riding, two on them. So would that be allowed? If it's a product that we allow,
But it's only supposed to carry one person,
Yes.
then that would be against the ordinance. It would be
Okay.
a violation of the ordinance if they had two on a scooter that was only made for one.
okay.
Yep.
That's good.
There's gonna be some citizen arrests out in my neighborhood.
When I just thought about this when you were saying it. So we talk about designed and equipped, and equipped might be like a kid's seat on the back would be an equipped secondary seat.
Right.
Does that also apply to the pegs that people can put on like the back? Does that fall under equipped?
Well, those pegs that they put on the back, and I think I know what you're talking about on the bicycle, they put those pegs. I think those were originally designed not to get another rider on there, but for tricks and scraping and doing those types of things. I don't know all the terms.
For BMX, it's a
So if scraping
Sounded
is
like
the
you
wrong
did.
term, but to get up on the rails or whatever, and they can get that up on the side of there while using those pegs. I don't think they were ever designed so their buddy could get on the back of there and cling on to them and ride. So I would say that would be a violation of the ordinance unless I'm completely wrong about that. But it would be something that the officer could stop and at least address it and see if it's something that was designed for that. But yeah, that modification I don't think would probably meet the intent of the ordinance here.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Well, and there's also just general safety language in it
Right.
that I think would kind of preclude
Right.
that.
All right.
Any other question?
Any further questions? All right, Alex, if you had some brief comments, again, I'll allow it on this tonight, so if you can come up and give your comments. I know we do have your email from this afternoon, too, so.
Alex Rice with the Street Collective. I live at 2111 48th Street in Des Moines. Thanks for all these changes you made. I really appreciate it. I think a lot of the really important things got addressed, and I appreciate the chief putting all the work into making that happen. There are a few things left to be fixed. You still are saying that golf carts aren't OPDMD, even though the ADA says otherwise. For the bike lane speed limit, I'm glad to hear the chief is going to try to fix that, but the fix he's proposing isn't quite the right fix because we still want to keep high-speed pedestrian conveyances off of bike lanes. So the fix that needs to happen is removing the part of the language that says vehicles operating at a speed in excess of 20 miles per hour, because if you want a speed limit, you've got that covered elsewhere, and then the rest of that can stand and you won't have that bike lane speed limit that we don't want to see. I also would like to see changes to the provisions around following emergency vehicles because it doesn't make sense that it would be more strict for a bicycle than it would be for a car when you're following an emergency vehicle. For positioning in the roadway, what Iowa code says a bicycle is supposed to do if they're not traveling at the speed of traffic is that they're riding to the right of the road when there aren't lanes, but if there are lanes, then you can occupy that lane, which means you can ride in the middle of it, which prevents a car from trying to share a lane right next to you and have an unsafe practice. So I'd like to see that change to really align with what's in state code so that we don't have cars trying to saddle up side by side with bicycles in the bike lanes. I appreciate the mentions I heard about adding door zone protections. I think that's important. It would also be nice to see something about dead reds. I sat at a dead red yesterday trying to get to work when the light would not turn for me because it didn't know that a bicycle wants to get through an intersection. To answer a couple of things that I heard just a moment ago, the hand signals that you're talking about, Amy, both of them are in there, both this kind and that kind for the right turn, so you're covered, no changes needed there. And to the question about knowingly modifying speed, that's something that is in state code. So whether you put it in the ordinance or not, it's already addressed in state code. So at this point, it's really more of just a courtesy if you want it to be kind of fresh in people's minds if they're reading your ordinance for themselves. But whether you add it or not, that's already handled in state code. So I did share a document with you all earlier today. I know it maybe was a lot to digest before the city council meeting, but if you would all please just take another minute to read through and make sure, and the chief as well, that there aren't maybe other things to look at, but these are kind of the big ones I wanted to highlight for you today.
All right, thank you, Alex. And again, we are on the second reading of this tonight, so we would still have one more reading after that. Chief, you had some more to add?
Yeah, I do. Just a couple of points. I did look at Alex's document that she sent this afternoon, and there's a couple things that just wanted to address real quick. So the positioning on the roadway language that's in our ordinance does model the state code, word for word, and it adds that extra provision at the bottom there where it talks about the substandard width of the lane. That's not in state code. That actually gives more abilities for the bicyclist to move away from the right-hand side of the road, but it is state code what we have in our ordinance, word for word. There is a code in Iowa Code 321-367 requires 500 feet from a fire apparatus. That's where that 500 feet came from. We applied it to all emergency vehicles, as did all the other cities, except for Norwalk, I believe, went with the 200 feet. But it is in state code. That's where that 500 feet came from. Talks about changing lanes to pass. There's something in there, Alex had mentioned about that too. Iowa code does not require you to change lanes to pass a bicyclist. It requires that you do it at a safe and reasonable distance. So I did not add changing lanes to pass a bicyclist. The door zone we already talked about, and then yeah, I have some other things on that list as well if you have questions about anything that was sent.
Chief, did I understand you correctly? That state code distinguishes between automobiles and bicycles when following emergency vehicles?
No, it requires all vehicles to stay 500 feet away from a fire apparatus. So that's where that 500 feet applied. We applied it to personal transportation devices.
Got it. All right. Thanks.
That makes sense.
And we also, like I said before, we included all emergency vehicles instead of just fire. The state code says fire apparatus, so we included all emergency vehicles.
Can I ask a question? I somehow, in this latest part of the conversation, got lost on the speed limit piece in the bike lane. I'm confused.
Not sure. I'll have to go back and look at that, how I worded that.
Where are we landing on that? I understood it earlier and now I don't.
I will make sure that that bicycle lane allows people to do the speed limit in the bicycle lane, whatever the speed limit of the road is, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were gonna do, and that's not what we should be doing, or that?
Of this line saying, and we're not allowing anyone operating at a speed over 20 miles per hour in bicycle lanes, that's where now you've created a new problem. So when I originally sent this as an area to be addressed, I had said, you need to add bicycle lanes, but you also need to remove this piece about operating higher than 20 miles per hour, or else you'll create a new problem. And because only the first part was addressed and not the second, then you did create the new problem.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it, make sure we're not allowing other devices to get into that bicycle lane that should be in the regular roadway.
Okay. I'm still confused.
Me too.
Sorry. I just kind of want to make sure a bicycle that's pedaling at 23 miles per hour can do it.
Like But you
In a
also
bike
want to
lane.
make sure they're not getting
Yep.
like ran over by a
Right, right,
device that's,
right.
yeah, going
Gotcha.
40 in the bike lane.
Any other questions on that?
All right. Thank you, Chief. Thank
All
you.
right,
Searles.
I'll make those adjustments that we talked about, and I'll get you that third version to take a peek at
All right.
for the third reading.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you for all of your work on all the
Yeah.
things.
That's great. It's very challenging.
With that, is there a motion on the second reading?
I move we pass ordinance 2026-30. Do I have to say something about anticipating some additional changes or anything like that?
Just say it's the second reading and we'll,
Oh, okay, second reading of ordinance 2026-30.
by Bodie,
Second.
second by Kroll. Discussion, please vote. That passes. All right. Thank you, everybody, for this. So, thank you, Alex, too, as well, for this.
Yes.
All right, that takes us to the end of our regular agenda. City managers report.
Nothing tonight.
Blake?
Just two, just kind of declarations. School's gonna be back, so everybody pay attention when you're out biking and driving and walking and everything like that. Because everybody's gonna be back at it, so it's gonna be a little chaotic. And then it's an exciting time to be in Urbandale. We're getting lots of feedback on lots of things, so that's it's an exciting time. Lots to chew on. So
Yep.
that's all I got.
All right, thanks. Bridget?
I just want to say, thanks to the Community Development Department and Rose. The meeting last week for downtown Urbandale was really, I didn't get to stay as long as I wanted to or mingle as much. I had to get back west, but really impressed with the turnout, and hopefully we got some good feedback, and just really impressed with the amount of people that came out. So that's all. Go Cubs.
Pat?
I wanted to thank everybody for the support and condolences. I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you. It's a very supportive council. I wanted to also acknowledge the Downtown Urbandale piece that I thought was really great. We had a successful Creek Stompers event, and I have lost track of it, but there is an upcoming Walnut Creek Watershed Management Authority tour of some kind, and I cannot recall if I have forwarded that information to you or not. I will try and track that down. It's a couple weeks out. A reservation is kind of required, but they'd really like to have some council people come beyond the representatives. If they got a bus to fill. And so you might really get something out of that and enjoy it. So I'm going to try and track that down to the best of my ability. And I think that's all I've got. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Pat. Amy?
Of the things, yes, ditto to the things that were mentioned. Also, I don't know if Pat and Bridget, are you guys heading to the water treatment tour tomorrow? You've seen it probably a gazillion times.
Is it too late to RSVP?
I don't even know if I've RSVP'd, but I have it on my calendar, so
Yeah, I have it on my calendar.
you just need to bring
I
your
just saw
ID.
what I didn't remember. I probably should go, but I've been otherwise occupied, so I don't know.
So that's going on. I may or may not see Bridget there, but that's all I have.
All right. Joe?
I think there have only been two happenings of note since our last meeting, National Night Out. I thought even with the rain was successful. We're going to have to require future mayors to tell us about their donut eating prowess
Before,
in order to, make a determination.
I did my best. I can't beat this guy. I mean,
Congratulations to the chief, of course, reigning champ. How many years have you won now? Oh, someone beat you 1 year. Did you lose?
There was a fireman, he didn't come last year. We tied the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And I gave it to him the first year, but we tied the second year. I'm like, no, it's my turn now.
Well, it's amazing. And then the other thing was the downtown meeting, which I agree with the comments. Well done. Staff did a great job, and yeah, very exciting stuff. Looking forward to next steps there. That's all I've got.
All right, thank you, Joe. Again, yes, it was a great downtown meeting, so thanks for everybody who was involved, and Rose, thanks for the presentation, it was great, so. I just have one additional thing, and that is, Derek will kill me if I didn't do this, but the civility dialogues, if you live in Urban Village, you should have gotten this in your mailbox. This went out, I think we had, 80 people after the first day, we're up to over 120 registered right now. So, yeah, so.
Fantastic.
Get that on your calendar, September 22, we're looking forward to it, so. I don't have anything further other than that, so with that, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.